That is the division of gravity. This concentrated power of the sun is being radiated out into space, which means that potential is being divided, lessened, as it gets away from the sun. Equipotential layers concentrate weaker and weaker and weaker as it gets away from the sun. So, but here's the other. Now, the sun's rays do not do this so far as the earth is concerned. They do not just come out in straight lines and dodge the earth. They don't, because somewhere between here and here is a plane of zero curvature, or in this case, between the two masses, it would not be a plane of zero curvature. It would be a curved plane. If the masses were equal, the plane would be a plane of zero curvature. But it is a plane of curvature, which then meets these radiating potentials of the earth, just as these curved lines will gradually straighten out to that point and meet ours from the earth in a plane of zero curvature, extending, well, I will not go into that because that's a mathematical, but for a certain extent there is a plane of zero curvature between the sun and here and this point, at this point, so that every ray of sunlight that comes out from the sun begins to bend in here and go in that direction. They begin to bend at this point and go right in that direction. And they do because no other, every other body in space, they bend and curve in the direction of the star. So that from here, everywhere in the radius of that, they bend toward the earth. In so doing, they charge the earth with the potential of the sun, to the extent of the amount of radiation on the sun that is able to strike the earth at rate. Now that charging of the earth heats the earth. It gives it power. It does exactly what the rays do that come through a lens that lets you burn a piece of paper. That means gravity that has been projected away from the sun to divide the power of the sun. In other words, the death of the sun must be reborn as light by reversing its centrifugal direction to a centripetal one. It winds up here. This center of gravity and this center of gravity then are in direct relation with each other as an extension, and that which has been projected from the sun is multiplied and upon the earth. Now there is our real source of power, because countless trillions of tons of motion, I'm saying tons of motion, which people call energy. Tons of, let's say, short waves. Constriction of long waves into short waves. And that's what means a multiplication of power. And when we can take the radiation of the sun, that vast power that is charging the earth constantly and giving it light, when we can concentrate it to a point at any price and multiply that point by a projection of gravity, the projection of death into life, then we have all the power that the whole world needs for every purpose. We need not dig in the ground or use atomic energy or water power or anything else. There's sufficient power from the sun alone to give us all of the power we need, and the intelligence of the human race will use that power when we get far enough away from the pagan state of civilization in which we are now in. And I really mean just that. We haven't outgrown our pagan civilization yet. We haven't even graduated to a barbarian stage yet. Our actions in our human relations are barbarian, and our spiritual beliefs are pagan, and our pagan spiritual beliefs are anti-Christian. I better not start on that. But there are numerous other sources of power. As I told you yesterday, hydrogen. Then we can take apart the space octaves when we know how. We have never given them consideration because we have known they were there until my charts came out in 1926. But a vast source of power lies in the space octaves that we have not yet recognized, made recognition of. And in free hydrogen and other gases that we waste, that are being wasted, the occluded gases of rocks, for example, that we waste. We take the occluded gases, for instance, of carbon now, and we burn them as a gas, as I explained to you yesterday. But there are occluded gases of rocks and metals, countless millions of tons of energy and power in every mountainside of just a rock that can be spared. A surface rock that can be still spared for ages without taking that which is underground and needed for the underground to keep the temperature of this earth where it should be. It is not right for us to take the coal or the oil from underground. The oil that is born underground, just as the water that is born underground, there's only a certain excess of it that could be used. We're using it very, very much in excess of it. It will be replaced in a normal manner if we take only that amount of oil or coal from the ground. The oil will be replaced much more readily than the coal, because the coal is a process that has taken millions of years. Oil and water are different. That's a process that is continually taking place as the earth decays. And if I hold up to you a piece of just dry rock and say, in this rock is a quart of oil, you wouldn't believe it. You can see no evidence of it, but it's there just the same. Just as if I hold up to you a quartz crystal and tell you that in that quartz crystal that I can hold in my hand here is a spoonful of water. You can't see it, but it's there. not only in that spoonful of water, but there's spoonfuls of other gases, hydrogen, oxygen, and the gases of the space octaves that have gone to waste and not even known. When we know how to conserve the gases of the space octaves. Let me give you an example. If you melt a large piece of any kind of metal whatsoever, gases escape from it, called occluded gases. Well, now, if the metal cools, the occluded gases come back into it. Well, now let us say people say, well, it'll come back into it. Well, the windows are all open everywhere. Well, those same occluded gases merely have expanded around it, they come back into it. You can hermetically seal the room, and with only a small amount of air in it, those occluded gases will transform themselves. They will be a transformation of whatever there is, oxygen or nitrogen around it, will immediately become transformed into the original occluded gases that will belong in that piece of metal. So that you heat it again and the same occluded gases will come out, but in less quantity, because you've sealed the room, there's only a certain amount here. Now seal it absolutely by melting that metal in a vacuum so that there's no air there, and heat it, and then put the metal after it's been heated in a vacuum, pump it out, and the occluded gases do not go back. The metal contracts, occupies less space. The particles are very much closer together than they were, very much closer together. The metal is heavier and harder, more dense, and will do as metal what it would not do before. But those occluded gases that have come out of it are a source of vast power. Because they belong to the space octave. It has never been possible to analyze fully the occluded gases that come from any metal or any rock. There's always a residue. There's no way of analyzing them whatsoever. There's vast sources of power to use, except those under the ground. I do not mean to say that taking oil out of the ground is wrongful. You can take a proper amount out of the ground because there's always a constant flow of it from the rocks, the condition, the kind of rocks that will crystallize into, well, what we call shale, for example. We'll give oil, and what we call the crystallized granite rock will produce water. The water will come in unlimited quantities as the decaying process of the earth continues, and the temperature of the earth is kept at its normal temperature, so that at the strata or level of temperature where the unborn water is produced, it will be continuous. Just as you take the trees off of the earth, you can take a large percentage of them off and replace them, and it'll make no difference so long as you replace them. But when we take them off and do not replace them, so when the oil that we take out of the ground that exceeds that which the ground needs for its normalcy, we are raising the temperature of the planet, and in raising the temperature of the planet is making it even more difficult to produce the unborn water.